I want you to think about that. How many things have you been shown evidence that contradicts your own beliefs, your own system, and yet nothing has changed for you? And it's okay to be honest about this. It happens to all of us, each and every one of us. It has happened and will continue to happen to me more than I care to admit. All right, this is part 2 of this Chase Hughes reaction. It's been great so far. If you haven't seen the first part, go back, check it out. It's on my channel. I'll try and leave a card or a link or something somewhere on screen for you. It'll definitely be in the description. If you haven't seen that, I highly suggest you watch that first before you start here. A lot more will make sense that way. If you have watched the first part and you're joining us for part 2, come on in.
Most of the cult members didn't fold over. They doubled down. They went out recruiting harder than before the prophecy had failed. The belief ate the disproof and got stronger. So that's the law running under this entire film. The more you've paid for a belief, the more being proven wrong can cement it even further. And evidence doesn't walk into an empty room. It walks into a room already full of your identity, your friends, your marriage, 30 years of the sunk cost fallacy, and the mind defends the furniture that it's been protecting its whole life instead of the truth itself. So this is why the line in the movie, when they say, Truman, everybody would have to be in on it, is the most lethal sentence in the entire movie when the best friend says it. And it doesn't beat Truman's evidence. Truman has a ton of evidence. But what it does psychologically, it makes the evidence cost too much to pick up and re-examine. To trust his own eyes, he has to accept the wife, the friend, the mother, the man with the dog, the neighbors, the businesses, everything. All of it was staged. And that's too much betrayal for one brain.
So how does this apply to each and every one of us daily? I want you to think about that. How many things have you been shown evidence that contradicts your own beliefs, your own system, and yet nothing has changed for you? And it's okay to be honest about this. It happens to all of us, each and every one of us. It has happened and will continue to happen to me more than I care to admit. But it's the truth. We are presented evidence about things that we have based our entire lives around being real and true, that just aren't. And yet sometimes when the evidence shows that you're wrong, you choose to ignore the evidence because it's easier, it's more comforting just to keep living in that blissful ignorance, right?
Marlon hands him this smaller, kinder story. You're tired. You're stressed out, man. Come back to the version that we can both survive. And there's your answer. That's why handing someone the truth makes them squeeze onto the lie a lot harder. The truth never shows up as information. And think about this, when you try to help someone understand this, delivering the information is not enough. It has to show up as an unpaid bill. And the mind is looking at the price and starts flinching. That's the big thing. And I want you to fully understand what this means right here, because this is the entire reason that this isn't a conspiracy video. Nobody in Sea Haven has to be evil. The wife is terrified. The friend looks genuinely, emotionally gutted on that bridge when they're talking together. And he might even mean it, between the lines that he's being fed from Christoph. Most of them are just protecting the idea that 30 years of their life can still be called pretty decent. There's no giant organization. There's no back room. The cage locks itself. The guards work for free in our reality because the truth would cost them more than the lie ever did. So you've watched this layer run with no camera in the room. The parent on the video call who shoves the kid out of frame to protect the performance of everything. Choosing the role over the actual child, live on camera. And it happens on every side of the aisle. The question was never who's the evil side or who's the evil group. The question is, what happens socially to the person who says out loud the thing that everybody agreed not to notice? So if this movie felt original, it's not. It's the newest reprint of a story that has no original, which, given what the story is about, might be the most on-the-nose thing in this whole video here. Plato told this story using a cave. Prisoners chained to a wall, they're watching shadows, and they're certain that the shadows are the world. And then one of them escapes and goes out into the sun, and when he comes back to tell the others.
And what I want you to really take away from what Chase is saying right here is that the allegory of Plato's cave, it's not about the people in the story. It's not about Rome. It's not about Greece. It's about you. I made a video on this. If you want to check that out, I'll put a card here somewhere. Link will be in the description.
They're not excited at all. They want to kill him. And this is written 2,400 years ago. And Plato already got the punchline. The cave trains people to experience rescue as an attack. So the Gnostics took Plato's two worlds and made it a lot darker. The lower world, which they call Earth, basically, isn't just shadows like in Plato's cave. It's a prison with a builder and an architect. And the only way out is through direct knowing, not information, but knowing. And there's a huge difference there. If you look at the Matrix, they put the whole thing in sunglasses, and then they hid Neo's contraband inside of a hollowed out copy of a book about fake realities. And this is called Jean Baudrillard's Simulacra and Simulation. Then you have Cypher sweating over a steak that he knows is fake, and he chooses it anyway. He says something like ignorance is bliss in this moment. So you have the cave, the Demiurge, the Matrix, the dome in the Truman Show, 4 versions, 24 centuries. These are authors who never met and obviously couldn't have. There's
all
a
telling the
here.
exact same story.
The exact shape consciousness makes every time that it notices the cage a little bit. And every one of these stories agrees on the one thing the inspirational crowd leaves off the movie poster. Getting out hurts. Plato's prisoner is blinded by the sun for a long time. Neo instantly starts vomiting. Truman loses his wife, his best friend, his town, his father twice, and every comfortable idea that he ever had about who he was. Waking up is a demolition. That's why people choose the stake. That's why most people, even if you handed them the keys to the door, they would grab those keys right out of your hand and lock it from the inside. So here's the part of the story that left the theater. A few years after this movie came out, psychiatrists started seeing something new. Patients walking in convinced that their lives were a television show. Hidden cameras, scripted families, and an audience out there somewhere watching them. There were enough of these cases that the condition got a name.
It really happened.
It's in the literature. They call it the Truman Show delusion. I want you to sit for a second in what's happened since then. In 1998, believing that you were constantly watched, recorded, and sold to strangers was a symptom. Today, it's a terms of service agreement. Your phone knows where you slept, your TV reports what you watch, your searches are a sales file that someone sells that has your name on it. The patients didn't get crazier. The entire planet closed the gap between all of that. And the rest of this old map is landing the exact same way. Trust in the whole arrangement is just bleeding out around the entire world right now. We have younger generations that are walking off their jobs their parents performed without question. We have political outsiders surging on every wing, left and right. And I don't care which one makes you cheer. That's not a verdict on any of them. It's a symptom reading there. The way that a fever is not a disease, but it tells you there is one. And the people who...
It goes back to analyzing whether there is, and I'm talking about the politics obviously here. It goes back to really analyzing whether or not there are two different sides, the left and the right. Because behind the curtains, there's really only their side.
Who run the set, the stage, are offering two exits. Both of them are their two exits. You can go deeper in, like the metaverse, the VR, the AI rendered everything, or back toward whatever's still real and unfilmed. So the Truman Show dome in our reality is starting to get strained big time. The shadows on the cave wall are starting to glitch. And right now, more people are seeing the seam at once than the operators know how to explain away. And when the comfort stops holding the herd together, the operators always reach for the exact same backup tool. You know what it is? It's fear. And in the film, it's literal. Christoph can't just talk Truman off the ledge and make him go home. So he reaches for the wound that he installed in childhood, the water, and he orders up this massive storm to drive him home. He's willing to take his life, the one that he refers to throughout the movie as like a son. He's willing to take his life for finding out the simulation. It's the same sound booth that says cue the sun, cue the storm. It's the same console, the same exact hand. Comfort starts failing and fear will take the room. And I'm going to say that again. When comfort fails, the controllers will use fear to take back control. So at this point, this is where most videos like this go batshit crazy.
I just want to say that this exact thing has been going on in the media since really long before, but heavily since 9/11. Look throughout history. My kitty. Say hi to the kitty. Kitty, 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 kitty. Sorry. All throughout history, the media has been just presenting us and bombarding us with negativity. But instilling fear in each and every one of us has been a nonstop process, 24/7, since 9/11.
Crazy conspiracy theories. Somebody's going to sell you something between all the weird accusations. I'm not doing any of that. So I'm going to keep it very disciplined here. A pattern is not a plot. A clue is not a verdict. But the pattern, fear as a steering tool for the public, that's not a theory. It's in the filing cabinet. We have the Gulf of Tonkin. They helped launch a war in declassified material, later complicated the official story of what happened that night. We've done all kinds of crazy stuff. Then we have Operation Northwoods. This was real. It's a signed proposal to manufacture a cause to go to war with Cuba. And it never got carried out, thank God. And then we have the Reichstag fire. You can argue the origin of the fire all you want. The exploitation is not in dispute though. Some shock became a doorway and civil liberties walked out through it. We have Iraq and the weapons that were never there, just a repetition of claims and fear and a war, and official reviews afterward finding the whole entire case was just junk. It's the same sequence every time. The public gets scared, a story organizes the fear and collects all the random fears and pulls it into one little ball. Then something that was really hard to sell the public last week, now it's just selling itself. So I'm not going to tell you where that's running right now. I'm going to do the more dangerous thing, and I'm going to trust you to look and to keep the difference between a pattern and a plot straight while you're doing that. I want to say this super clearly because it's true, and because the people who skip this part are usually selling something. I've defended my own Sea Haven town. I've read the label on the star and gone to work anyway. Me. More than once. thousands of times. This is water that I am standing in with you. Late in the Truman Show, somebody finally asks Christoph the only question that really matters. Why has Truman never come close to discovering the truth? And Christoph answers this question without even blinking. He could leave at any time. If he was absolutely determined to discover the truth, there's no way we could prevent him. And then there's the line that should be carved over the door of this entire video. Ultimately, Truman prefers his cell. For 30 years, this bastard Christoph is right. There's no locked door. They didn't even spend money on locks. The budget went to making sure he would never want to check, which leaves the only question that was ever actually yours. And it's not whether or not the world is fake. Plato, the Gnostics, the entire Truman Show movie settled that that's not the question. The question is the one that Truman's entire life story is asking. And I want you to answer it. Do we even want the truth? Because the data on human beings isn't very encouraging. Most people choose the steak. We go back to the kitchen. We thank the people that are managing us.
How true do you think that is? Myself, I believe what Chase just said is 100% spot on. Most people, they'll choose the steak over reality. What about you? Have you ever asked yourself this question? Have you really just sat with yourself, spent time with yourself, and wondered if you're just floating through this thing and eating the steak, or if you're actually willing to pull the curtain back and see what's going on?
But gnosis, from Gnosticism, was never a personality trait. All of the old teachings treat it like a practice. Gnosis is a skill, it's a muscle. And for everything that Dr. Festinger found when he was in there with this cult, it starts pointed inward. Gnosis starts pointing inward. Because the second you aim that stuff at other people, their walls go up and they stay up. So let me give you 3 techniques. I'm gonna leave you with these. Number 1, hunt down the seams, not the villains. The villains are bullshit. Hunt down the seams between everything. Hunting down the villain, it feels great. It gives your brain this face to want to bite or punch. And it also gets theatrical really fast, and it ends at these little cork boards that people have in their houses. But the clean question here is very behavioral science-y. What is this trying to make me do? What am I being rushed to feel right now? Ask what it does before you ask who's behind it. I'm gonna say that again. Ask what it does before you ask who's behind it. That one swap is the entire difference between perception and just being paranoid as hell. And number 2, audit your own dissonance first. What are the beliefs that you defend fastest? These are typically the big load-bearing walls of your own little Sea Haven town. The identity that you can't take a joke about, the story that you edit every time that you tell it, the thing you defend before the criticism's even done or coming out of somebody's mouth. The flinch there isn't a seam, and it's almost never the thing that you hate the most. It's the thing that you need the most. That's the seam. So number 3, and I want you to pay attention because this is what Truman actually did. You break character in small little doses. You stop waiting for the boat and the storm and the wall. The training happens earlier and it's a lot smaller. The room gets weird and you don't rush to laugh it off anymore. Somebody hands you this neat little answer and you ask one more question. Your gut basically says that was weird or off, and you don't bury that under a bunch of manners. It's just one sentence. I'm not sure that explains it. You're not trying to become the weirdo who turns every dinner into some tribunal. You're becoming harder to rush That's the number one thing. Harder to rush, harder to flatter. You don't let people flatter you anymore.
And really where all this starts is when you first admit to yourself that you're not free. You never have been free. You have been a slave, or at the very least, just an occupant in this play that we call life. I want you to think about that. It all begins when you start questioning whether or not you have actually ever been free.
Which means that you're also going to be harder to shame back into character, where someone wants to push you back into character. And when it's someone else's cage, you offer the door. You don't shove them through it. Who breaks the spell in the Truman Show? It's Sylvia. She breaks the spell and then she's gone. She cannot walk through the door for Truman. Nobody walks through it for anybody, even if you're a shaman. Festinger's law kicks in the moment that you try to shove somebody out. And the wall that you're pushing on gets thicker. So watch how he actually leaves. It's not when the fear's gone. The fear's never gone. He sails straight into it. He's willing to die for the truth. He leaves when staying finally costs him more than going. And that's the threshold that we want to reach. And it's not movie courage, right? There's a quiet moment where somebody realizes the smaller life stopped protecting them and started eating who they are. The entire work of a life is lowering that threshold. The bow of the boat, towards the end of the movie, punches through the sky. It's a fake horizon. It was just a bunch of drywall. And the voice of God comes out of the clouds. It's Christoph. And the God makes his final pitch. Listen to what he actually offers. It's not the truth. He concedes the truth point entirely. And he says, out there, there's just as much lying as in here. But in my world, you have nothing to fear. That's the pitch. That was always the pitch. Safety in exchange for the world. The God of the Truman Show, his closing argument is a safety pitch. So then the exchange, the whole film was built to deliver the big
that fear
exchange.
you feel inside yourself.
And Truman asked the big question here, who are you? And the voice says, I'm the creator, pause, of a television show. And then Truman asks, then who am I? You're the star. And then the question every prisoner eventually asks the builder, the gatekeeper, was none of this was real? And then what he hears back is, you were real. That's what made you so good to watch. So there it is. It's the entire business model in one sentence, out of the creator's mouth. The only real thing inside the entire effing dome was Truman. And his realness was a fucking product. They didn't farm out his labor. They didn't make him go assemble iPhones somewhere or do any kind of stuff like that. They farmed his authenticity. The one thing in Sea Haven that no human being could manufacture. You were real. That's what made you so good to watch. And Truman does the most savage, badass thing in the film here. He doesn't yell at the sky or freak out or anything. He performs the old one last time, and then he bows with the catchphrase, in case I don't see you, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. It's a line that they installed in him as a child, handed back to them as a goodbye. And he steps through this door into the one place the show could never sell to anyone. It's just the unfilmed world. Well, at least in 1998 it was. And the audience, you can see them in the movie. After 30 years, there's tears and candles and pubs erupting in emotion. There's 2 security guards who the film kind of follows a little bit. They've watched him every shift of their lives. They look at the static for a second, and you see this.
This also is a biblical reference, by the way. If you know what it is, comment.
This big emotional exchange. And then they look at each other, and here's a huge line here. And one of them says, "What else is on?" They loved him the way you love a show. They love him the way that when we put Princess Diana in front of a bunch of cameras, she becomes a product. And the second it ends, we look for the next one. So it comes back to where it started. A star falls out of a fake sky with a label on it. A man picks it up, he reads it. He holds the edge of his entire world in his hand, and he goes to work. That's where the door always was. It's not at the wall, not on the boat. It's in the first honest second before an explanation lands in your brain, before the morning closes over everything, before he handed the star back and just rejoined his life like normal. We have stars falling all throughout our lives. They always do.
So I'm going to leave you with this. What are you going to do? Are you just going to hand that star back and just get on existing? Are you going to be strong enough to start questioning the very things that we hold as real? And listen, it's okay to sit with these thoughts and, even the things they put on the news. It's okay to sit with these. And it's okay to think about them being real and not real. It's okay. You don't have to accept them right away. You can always accept them after there's more evidence. And you don't have to reject it right away. It's okay to hear these things without internalizing them. Anyways, that's it for me. And I'll tell you what, this is all part of a series I'm working on, The Awakening Journey. And if you want to take a look at that, this video right here on screen, this is very in-depth. I think you'll enjoy it. All right. Take care.